I always dreamed of visiting America. The tall buildings, the busy streets, and the feeling of freedom fascinated me. I saved money for 2 years and finally booked my flight. I was so excited. I told my husband, Adam, about my plans. He smiled and said, "I hope you enjoy it, love." But inside, I felt a little worried. Adam had been busy with work and sometimes he seemed distant. At the airport, I hugged him and said goodbye. "I will call you every day," I promised. "Adam notet." "I will wait for your stories," he said. The plane took off, and I looked out of the window. The clouds felt like a soft blanket, and my heart was full of hope. When I arrived in America, everything was different. The streets were wide, the lights were bright, and people moved fast. I stayed in a small hotel, and every day I visited new places. Central Park, Times Square, and the Statue of Liberty made me feel alive. I made friends with other travelers. They were friendly and shared their experiences. I felt free, like I could be myself without any rules. One evening, I went to a cafe near my hotel. I met a man named David. He was charming, kind, and always knew how to make me laugh. He showed me secret spots in the city and shared his favorite restaurants. I told him about my husband and my life back home. He listened carefully and gave advice, but sometimes I noticed he looked at me differently. I felt something new, a mixture of excitement and guilt. Even though I was happy with my trip, I sometimes thought about Adam. I missed him, but David made me feel alive in a way I had not felt for months. I told myself, it's just a friendship, nothing more. But deep inside, I wondered if my heart was already changing. Days passed, and my connection with David grew stronger. We explored museums, rode bikes along the river, and shared ice cream in the evening. He listened to my problems and dreams. I felt special with him, and I laughed more than I had in years. But guilt was always there. I thought about Adam. Was I betraying him by enjoying my time? One night, we attended a jazz concert. David held my hand for a moment, and I felt my heart race. I pulled my hand away and apologized. "I'm married," I said softly. He smiled but didn't look upset. "I understand. I just like spending time with you," he said. His words made me feel comfortable, yet confused. I started calling Adam more often. His voice was warm, but I noticed he sometimes sounded tired or distracted. One evening he said, "I wish I could be there with you. I feel lonely without you." I wanted to tell him about David, but I didn't. I promised myself I would focus on my trip and be honest when I returned home. The next day, David invited me to a small rooftop restaurant. The city lights sparkled below us. We laughed, shared stories, and danced slowly. I felt a spark I had not felt in years. My mind was full of questions. Was this just a temporary feeling? Or was my marriage in trouble? That night, I cried in my hotel room. I loved Adam, but David made me feel alive and seen. I realized that maybe my marriage lacked some connection. I didn't know if I could ignore this new feeling. My dream trip was changing me. Not just showing me America, but showing me parts of myself I had hidden. The last week of my trip arrived. I felt torn between my husband and David. I knew I had to make a decision soon. On my second to last day, David took me to a quiet park. He looked serious. "I need to tell you something," he said. "I care about you more than a friend should." I felt my stomach twist. I looked at him and said, "I care about you too, but I'm married. I love my husband." David nodded. "I know. That's why I don't want to make things complicated. I just needed to be honest." His honesty hurt and relieved me at the same time. That night I called Adam. My voice trembled. "Adam, I need to tell you something. I felt something for someone here. It didn't mean I stopped loving you, but I can't hide it." There was silence. I heard his breath. I don't know what to say," he whispered. My heart ached. Adam's voice grew calm after a few minutes. "Thank you for telling me. I feel hurt, yes, but I'm glad you were honest. We will talk when you come back." I cried silently, feeling both guilt and relief. I realized honesty was necessary for love to survive. I spent my last day in America alone, walking through streets I had once explored with excitement. I thought about David, about Adam, and about myself. I knew I had to return home and fix what I could. My trip had changed me, made me see my feelings clearly, made me face my fears, and made me realize that love requires honesty. When I returned home, Adam waited at the airport. He hugged me tightly. I could feel the tension and love mixed together. On the way home, we held hands but didn't speak much. Both of us knew there were words to say, and both of us were scared. At home, we sat down and talked for hours. I explained my feelings honestly, the loneliness I had felt, the connection I experienced with David, and my fear. Adam listened without interrupting. Then he shared his feelings too. He admitted that he had been distant and tired from work. He wanted to reconnect, but didn't know how. We decided to take small steps. We would spend more time together, share our thoughts daily, and rebuild trust. My trip had shown me not only the excitement of a new place, but also the importance of honesty and love. Adam hugged me again and said, "We will be okay. I love you." Over the next months, we worked on our marriage. We traveled together locally, laughed, and shared our dreams. I still remembered David, but my heart belonged to Adam. The trip changed me. It showed me freedom, temptation, and the strength of honesty. I learned that love is not about avoiding mistakes, but about facing them, being honest, and choosing each other every day. My dream trip to America didn't just show me a new country. It helped me understand my heart, my marriage, and myself.